Political analyst, Democrat Harold Cook, and Republican Brendan Steinhauser in for Ted DeLisi this evening. Brendan, I'll start with you and ask you, now that we see that the table is set for the debate Thursday in Cleveland, what does Rick Perry have to do at the so-called kiddie table earlier in the day to, try to stand out somehow not being on that stage in prime time?
I really think Governor Perry has to talk about his record in Texas. He has to talk about his long tenure, creating an environment where Texas has created jobs. We've been the place for economic growth in the country. He really has to stand out as the one person at that stage that can talk about his record and get some coverage as well in the media so that people have an alternative to what's going on in the other debate. Because I think that debate will get covered. It's just a matter of, can someone stand out? Can someone sort of elevate themselves and their message to the broader campaign?
Yeah, it's going to have to be something that the media has replayed because not a lot of people are going to catch it earlier in the day.
Right, and I don't disagree with him, but look, you don't get to win a football game unless they put you out on the field. A lot of this is now going to be completely out of Rick Perry's control, but that's not to say that Brendan's not right, because he is, because what Perry has to be ready to do is when and if one of the candidates who is at the big kids table stumbles, then at his expense somebody moves up, and it is. I don't think it's a fatal blow to a campaign to not make this first debate, but it is if you don't make any of the first two debates, which are in large part based on the same polling rules. So look, if Perry doesn't make the second debate, for whoever doesn't, they're all toast. But he's right. Perry has to make a good case for himself in case somebody stumbles at the big kids table, and he can move up next time.
Okay, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, what does he need to do at the primetime event, and how does he handle Trump, who he's met with, and actually is one of the Republicans who has not kind of counterattacked what Trump has said on the campaign trail?
Sure. Senator Cruz is a debate phenom. He's really good at this. It's just, can he get the time needed? Can he grab that airtime and make his case for why he's kind of an alternative conservative fighter? I think that's what he's been known for, and he's just going to have to fight for the time. I think he'll excel in any debate that he participates in. This is his ballywick. This is where he should really be successful, and I think that he'll have a good debate. It's just, can he get the time from the moderators? And he may just have to insert himself into the debate.
I would be stunned if Cruz stumbles. He never stumbles in a debate format, and he shouldn't. I think, though, he may well have a strategic problem that was made a month ago or more when he decided to saddle himself up to the Trump bandwagon and be the candidate who would side with Trump. And I think he did it for not irrational reasons. I think he decided that when Trump stumbles, that he would become the heir apparent to the people who are now supporting Trump. I don't think that's working out for him, because Trump isn't stumbling so far in the polls. And when he does, I have a feeling that a lot of Republican primary voters will reject everything Trump did, so Cruz will be an also Trump. That said, if I'm wrong about that, I think he's going to continue doing it now that he's wedded to it, and maybe I'll be proven wrong, but if I am, I think he's in the catbird seat. But Brendan's right. Nobody's going to best Ted Cruz on a stage in a debate format. I mean, he may not get much of an opportunity to shine, but for sure he's not going to mess anything up, and that's half the battle won in a big stage like this.
I want to see how he does on the timing, because with a time limit, he's the kind of guy who likes to filibuster, and if you've ever been to a press conference, he can make a question into a very long answer, so we'll see how that goes. What about Jeb Bush then, because he's the one who has not been engaging Trump, if you will, and assuming like maybe that the Trump phenomenon will fade away. What does he do?
Well, I think Jeb Bush has a bit of a problem on his right flank on immigration and on Common Core and education policy proposal. I think he's got to talk about his conservative record in Florida as governor. He needs to talk about what he did to pioneer school choice. He needs to talk about the programs that he put in place that have gotten him to this point. He has a lot of respect in the party, but I think what I hear from grassroots Republicans and conservatives is, do we need another Bush? And, he is sort of the establishment pick. So he really just has to be Jeb. He has to really talk about what he's done and make the case that that he's a governor who deserves their support. I think he'll do fine, but I do think that's going to be his biggest problem is his right flank.
I think Jeb could be the guy in the catbird seat in this debate because he can be the guy who is obviously a credible candidate. He's number 2 or number 3 in every poll, but he's the guy that can seem presidential. And frankly, I don't think Donald Trump has it in his DNA to be presidential. Trump probably intends to take the high road. That's probably his strategy, and he'll probably fail. He won't be able to help himself. He's never gone 5 straight minutes in his life without insulting people. So, I mean, if Jeb Bush just sits around and waits for his opportunity to be presidential and to kind of demonstrate the sort of things Brendan says, I think he could emerge from this a greatly enhanced candidate.
Before we move on to one other topic, I do want to bring in Rand Paul, the other Texas-connected candidate. What's his challenge tomorrow or Thursday?
Sure. Rand Paul just has to, again, like Ted Cruz, get his time in. Rand Paul is one of the most interesting candidates we have. He's doing great work in terms of criminal justice reform, reaching out to minority voters. He's our civil liberties candidate. He brings kind of a fresh new set of ideas, but he's got to, again, kind of grab the opportunities that come around and make his case. And I think, you know, he stands out because he is a candidate that's gone where no Republicans have gone before, and I think he needs to talk about that and talk about being a principled conservative who can expand the tent.
Harold, quick thought on him.
Yeah, Paul has not really caught on the way I expected him to so far, and it's really been amazing to me because he's a very interesting candidate, and I don't think it's of his own making. I think it is because he keeps walking into rooms that other candidates have already sucked the oxygen out of. This could be his breakout chance if he gets some time in this debate and does well for himself, because I really think this is the candidate that's kind of under-supported and probably underfunded at this point. And as people start being disappointed with their first picks, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the second choice of a lot of people.
A couple of minutes left. Let's talk about the indictments that Attorney General Ken Paxton now faces. Brendan, your thoughts a day after these indictments were unsealed. What happens now?
Well, I think, first of all, a lot of Republicans are kind of concerned and wanting to see what the facts are and wanting to not prejudge anything. But obviously this news was big locally, it was big national news. And so I think it has some people concerned, but I think people are giving Ken Paxton the benefit of the doubt on the Republican side, saying, you know, you say this was a paperwork error. So I think they want to see him, see this process play out and see what comes of it. But it's obviously been kind of a public relations problem for him and for the party as well at this point.
And Democrats have been calling for his resignation.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that. I don't know why they're calling for his resignation. I mean, this is not the first Attorney General who's been indicted while in office. 30-something years ago, Attorney General Jim Maddox, who was a Democrat, was indicted while he was in office of commercial bribery. He went to trial and was acquitted. And I'm awfully glad Jim Maddox didn't resign, because we would have lost a perfectly good Attorney General who was guilty of no crime. So, I kind of get it. Yeah, we don't like Ken Paxton. We'd rather see him gone. But we believed that before the indictment. So I'm not exactly sure on what grounds he should resign at this point. We ought to just let the process play out. But it sure doesn't look good for Ken Paxton. He has really not handled this very well as a process, and the indictments look very serious.
Okay, we out of time, but we'll pick up our conversation with Harold and Ted on Thursday in advance of the debate, and after the debate we'll have coverage from Cleveland with Karina Kling. Brendan, as always, it's good to see you again. Look forward to having you back here on the show.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're back. The 50th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act is Thursday. Next, the person in charge of voter registration in Travis County joins us to talk about an event at the LBJ Library that's more than just a tribute to the law. We'll be right back.